Hello, and welcome. Welcome back to our video series where we are breaking down African surnames by their cosmic elements. So, we have already touched on two totems. We have done a breakdown of two totems. This is what I would like us to talk about today. So, today we are moving on to the crab. We have unpacked the python, Ujola, and we have also listed all of the surnames that are associated with this totem. We have touched on the crocodile, Ngwenya. Today, I want us to touch on the crab. But before we go into the crab, right, because this is going to take us very deep into the Dendera calendar, the Dendera Zodiac, and how the ancient people used to use this to be able to engineer their entire lives. Before we do that, I want us to quickly revisit some of the learnings that we have received, some of the learnings we have gone into in the past two breakdowns of the crocodile and the python. Why is the crocodile and the python so important? The crocodile and the python are very, very important because those are the totems that are associated mostly with people who have extrasensory abilities that link them with the causal realms of creation, which is the waters. Because in Kemetic cosmology, when you're talking about water, you're not talking about just water, the element. You're talking about causal realms of creation. You're talking about spirituality. You're talking about working with spirit. You're talking about the unseen spaces, the spirit, the energy of things. That's what you're talking about. And then on land, you're talking about the visible physical world, the seen realities, this part of existence that can be seen with the naked eye. This is what we are talking about. So let's get into it. The reason why we are starting with the water-based totems is because the water-based totems are the ones that are the most associated with the extrasensory abilities that allow people to work with spirit, there are different types of extrasensory abilities. Some people can smell things people cannot smell. Some people can see things other people cannot see. Some people can sense and feel things other people cannot feel. Then we have the seventh sense and the sixth sense. Some people have different intuitive capacity than the regular, normal human being. And so understanding these extrasensory capacities allows you to interact with reality at a greater level than if you did not have knowledge of those extrasensory abilities and how the totem links you to this. And so for me, I've been doing this research for a very long time because I was seeing patterns within myself and some of the clients I would read for that, listen, the people who have these types of gifts, these types of extrasensory abilities, all of them had a similar thread in terms of the water guidance that they have. Because if you have water in your ancestry, it is usually associated with a totem you can find inside of the clan names, which is either an amphibious totem or an animal that deals with water. For example, Indlovu, an elephant is not so much is not associated with water very much, but Indlovu is associated with a lot of shamanic healers, is Angoma, because the elephant is able to feel waves, seismic shifts from the earth, and it can root water out, can find water in spaces other people cannot find water. So it is associated with water to some aspect, right? Their intuitive capacity is a little bit more. So understanding your totem helps you to understand the latent parts of you, because everybody has the latent, the sleeping parts of them, and then the awake parts of them. So that's what I would like us to unpack with today's video demonstration, to say, moving from the reptilian water totems onto the crab, it's important to have that foundation to see really how they come in and how they come into play. Both of them are reptilian water masters. So when we are talking about reptilian water masters, we're talking about the totems that are associated with animals that are reptilians. The crocodile is a reptilian. The snake is a reptilian. As much as the snake is then associated with the spine and how energy moves from the base of the spine up, we have the crocodile, which is then associated with the reptilian brain. So we are going to talk about this reptilian brain and how it connects with the ancient peoples, and how Kemetic spirituality was basically understanding how they understood these concepts, because spirituality without self-mastery is just games. It's a waste of time, because with true spirituality, you are able to then work with your biology as a human being, and you're able to work with the quantum field. So these are practices of how the ancient people were then able to engineer reality, how they were able to shift reality. Shape shifting is very much associated with people who are able to go from their physical forms into the animal nature, or based on whatever totem they are linked with. So my thing is, grab a cup of tea, grab your coffee, grab your drink, and let's get into it, because today there's quite a bit of things to unpack. I would like you guys to know and understand that this work that we are doing with this video, this is not just genealogical research. This is cosmic remembrance. Cosmic remembrance. The information placed in here is so that people are able to remember that who exactly were we beyond the slavery stories, beyond the colonial stories, beyond there's so much that the modern world has taken away from the indigenous knowledge systems, that it becomes very, very difficult to tap in. Right. So we did speak here about first unpacking everything that we have covered about the crocodile and the snake as a totem, as an ancestral totem. That what does this bring? What does this allow you to do? What does this change? Basically, what does this come with? This is what I would like us to unpack today. Yes. So here's the important thing. While the python is symbolic of the spine, the crocodile is associated with the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain, this is the hindbrain. Now, the hindbrain is associated, is linked with the subconscious mind in very interesting ways. This crocodile represents the oldest and the deepest layers of the subconscious mind. And remember, when you're using divination tools, you're tapping in and out of your subconscious memory. So, the deepest and the oldest part of this brain, the hindbrain, known as the reptilian brain, is basically associated with what? The crocodile. So now when we're talking about these reptilian water masters, the crocodile and the python are at the very, very top. They are at the very, very top. And we're going to talk about where you find them on the Dendera Zodiac. We're going to talk about them first. I want to explain to you that what is this? What does it look like practically? What does it look like biologically? Because once you understand these concepts, self-mastery becomes easier. You're not working with anything outside of you. You're working with something internally inside of you, right? When you are evolving energetically, you are just getting better at working with yourself, your spirit, your energy as a human being. Right? You're not learning how to work with anything outside of you. You're working with your energy. And now your energy, obviously, you can't learn to work how to work. You can't, it becomes challenging to learn how to work with your own energy without factoring ancestry in there. Because the shape of your nose, you got that from somewhere. The shape of your hands, you got that from somewhere. You either inherited it from your maternal and your paternal side. So self-knowledge is genealogy, and history is part of understanding yourself in the here and the now, right? So this is where we're going with this. So this conversation of the reptilian brain and how they connect with the totems, this is where somatic neuroscience and African metaphysics meet. This is where they meet, because then you're able to draw the parallels by yourself, and then you will see exactly what the Egyptian mystics were talking about. First, before we go into the energetic and the spiritual stuff, I'd like us to first break down the reptilian brain, this hindbrain, I would like us to first break it down biologically. Let's break it down biologically so there's an understanding of what we are talking about before we can move into the metaphysical stuff, which can be very confusing without the foundation of what is the reptilian brain inside of the human body, how does it connect with your subconscious mind, how does it connect with your psyche, and what role does it play inside of a person's psychic inclinations. What is this? So, here we are talking about the biology of the reptilian brain. What is the reptilian brain biologically? We are talking about the brain stem, the cerebellum, right? The cerebellum, which is the brain stem. What is this? It is the oldest, most ancient part of the biological body. The evolutionary brain, this is the oldest part of it, this brain stem. So the reptilian brain does not think in words, concepts, and emotions. The reptilian brain thinks in instinct, survival, and pattern recognition. Okay? This hindbrain, this reptilian brain does not think in words and concepts and emotions. It thinks in pattern recognition, instinct, and survival. So yeah, it thinks in pattern recognition, instinct, and survival. So this is the part that switches on long before your brain actually registers what is going on. All right. This is that part of you that switches on long before your brain actually figures out what is happening, why, what. And this area of the brain is known as the seat of Chronos. Chronos is time. Egyptian cosmology, Chronos is time. This is the seat of time. So what exactly does this mean for you? Number one, it regulates your nervous system. So it controls your breathing, your heartbeat, all of these bodily functions that happen without your conscious awareness. So this is what allows you to breathe. This is the part of you that breathes for you as you sleep. Your breathing as you sleep, your respiratory system, your respiration, right? Linked with your nervous system. This is the nervous system. Survival responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So it activates those survival loops. So this brain is so alert that it becomes aware. It scans the environment of threats every millisecond. So it can pick up a threat long before your conscious mind has registered what is going on. If you have noticed, when you get a fright, you either freeze or you run or you attack. There are some people that attack immediately when they get into, I don't know if you've watched these candid camera where people are being scammed for stuff. Before a person even processes what is going on, they are attacking you or they freeze. Because why? The nervous system, the subconscious mind, this reptilian brain is connecting with the threat. So that is that scanning for the survival responses, your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So this mind, the reptilian brain, picks the threats up long before your conscious mind is even aware of what's going on. If you've ever received a fright, most of the times you jump long before you know what's even happening. You just jump or you run before you even see from which angle the threat is coming from. That is your reptilian brain in action. Hey, that's number 2. And then number 3, keeper of muscle memory, the reptilian brain. Keeper of muscle memory. Now, because it handles all the automated functions, the things that we do naturally and automatically, this makes it so that that part of the brain is the one that handles everything you do naturally and automatically, the things you do on reflex. For you to master anything at all, this is the area of mastery. That if you repeat something long enough, it becomes natural, it becomes automatic, and it becomes a natural part of who and what you are. So this is the part of the brain that holds your ability to master anything. This part of the brain, holder of muscle memory. Here in the spiritual spaces, this is also a deep part of remembrance. That when people are talking about remembrance, this is exactly what they're talking about, because this is the part of your brain that remembers. It remembers. Like, this is where ancestral knowledge sits as well. You know, where your body just knows what to do, when to do it, how to do it. This is the area, this is the place that you are connecting with, right? This reptilian brain. It helps you to connect with information even outside your own body, information from previous generations, information from previous worlds, outside of this timeline. This is the place. This is then when your reptilian brain is working at peak level. Like, you just have this inner knowing inside of your body, this inner knowing inside of your system that you just don't know where you know. Your body just knows, and it is able to tap in and out of this information. That's the third thing. So with these three things, in indigenous metaphysics, the crocodile is known as the master of the reptilian brain. It is the master of this realm, which is the subconscious mind. The realm of subconscious mastery is exactly what the crocodile totem is known and understood as. This is what it is known for inside of Kemetic metaphysics. When your reptilian brain is healthy and regulated, you possess unshakable depth. You possess three things: unshakable depth, deep instincts. You can tap into deep instincts beyond the time that you're existing in. And you have unlimited capacity for mastery. You can master multiple things at once because you have access to this. So your capacity for it, as someone who is led by the crocodile totem, is a little bit more than the average person. This is what I appreciate the most about Kemetic metaphysics. Kemetic spirituality did not separate biology, human biology, with spirituality. Those things were seen as one thing. They were not fragmented, they were not separated. They were seen as the same thing. That in order for you to have true self-mastery, you're working with yourself as a fragment of nature. That if you take care of yourself, you're taking care of nature. If you take care of other human beings, you're also taking care of nature. Because if you love yourself, you love nature. If you don't love yourself, you don't love nature. So therefore, you cannot love the fragments of nature, which is you, the animals, the plants, the food, the medicines, anything. Exceptional capacity for mastery is literally what the crocodile totem comes with energetically. That if you have activated this frequency and it is an active thing in you, it is no longer just a latent thing inside of yourself. You basically have exceptional capacity for mastery. Now, what this usually leads to, all the conversations that I've had with people about this reptilian brain and the crocodile totem, it always goes back to the reptilian agenda, which was popularized by David Icke and others, which was basically this idea, or this idea of alien beings, the Chitauri, the Greys, having certain forces that are controlling life behind the scenes, like a shadow government, right? Like a secret government, a secret society, a shadow government. So with that now, when you take this idea of the reptilian brain and how the reptilian brain works, it becomes a lot easier to understand these concepts just from a purely biological point of view. Just from a purely biological point of view, there's a perspective that you're able to see this, that you're then able to understand that here's what's happening on a micro scale and here's what's happening on the macro scale. When you move away from the archons, the Chitauli, and the other beings that are manipulating humanity from behind the scenes, and you look at it from a biological perspective, your entire your entire view changes. You start seeing it from a celestial point of view, right? Where The latter is a demonstration of what happens when this reptilian brain is unregulated or is out of balance. I want us to scan it from a purely psychological and metaphysical point of view so that you can see the mechanics of this and your understanding of it changes completely, where you're able to see the stuff in action, even in your own life and even in the lives of other people. All right? At a distance. So let's compare it, right? So you have your reptilian brain, which is biocentric inside of your body. And then you have the reptilian agenda, which is parasitic. It's outside of the body. It is beings outside, higher than outside of the physical body, making some changes to the collective. Now, the concept then of the reptilian, when you start understanding it from places of totems where ancient people were considered to be people who knew how to shapeshift. So to shapeshift, moving from one form into another one. That would make it so that a person who has the Ngwenya totem, having come from people who were able to shift into or out of their biological frame into that of a crocodile, all right, making you what? A reptile. Making you a reptile, energetically and biologically so. So within, we're going to look at it biocentric and then parasitic. So when I edit this, I'll maybe put biocentric on one side and then parasitic on the other so that we can talk about it, dissect it, look at it, and see it clearly. Okay? So the reptilian brain, here we have, this is basic survival and self-preservation. Basic survival and self-preservation seeks safety and homeostasis, like just grounding, firm physical grounding, right? So this is then the biocentric part of having a left brain. What does the reptilian brain do? It is the center for survival and self-preservation, which is why those three things we spoke about earlier on, it triggers your survival responses, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and it basically takes care of all the automated stuff inside of the system, all of that. Basically, it's a center for survival and self-preservation. Now, when you look at it from the perspective of the reptilian agenda, over here is where you get paranoia and scarcity. Over here is where you get paranoia and scarcity, living in fear and having this constant anxiety of losing control. So people who have this fear and anxiety of losing control, they are very destructive people naturally because they are in fear. And when you're existing in fear, your survival response is constantly on because you're existing, feeling and being under threat like all the time. So this is then represented by a survival anxiety. Then we move on to the second point here, that with the reptilian brain, you get stillness, conservation, and precision, right? Being still, being 100% still, and waiting for the right moment to strike. Here, on the other side, with the reptilian agenda, what you get here is domination and predation, like being predatory. So you have ruthless hierarchies. You can think of white supremacist hierarchies. You can think of patriarchal hierarchies. You can think of, if you've ever watched the Avatar, I think it was Marvel's Avatar, the blue people, and how basically in this film, the human beings wanted to go in and colonize a planet called Pandora. And Pandora was beautiful. The people who existed in this planet, they were obviously giant-like, bigger. They were blue. They were bigger than regular human beings. And one of the things that they would constantly say is that the sky people, who are the people from the earth, sky people, had basically killed their mother being Earth, Mother Earth, the greenery. They were so disconnected from Earth. And these people, these human beings, had come there because they wanted some mineral. some expensive mineral that's sold for millions. So they were going there for economic exploits, and they were like, we need to move these people so that we can get to this mineral, natural mineral underneath that is worth trillions of dollars. Right, so they were ready to go in there and destroy and kill and remove all of these people, which sounds very familiar when you think about the story of South Africa, the gold, the diamond, the exploits, and how basically the European colonizers came in and they wanted to excavate, and they used everything from corrupting religion to, because when you go back to now how the people, the Pandora, the people who were then existing inside of this planet, and how they were so connected with their earth, right? The goddess, the mother, right? Their mother, so beautiful, right? So now you are seeing that to remove that, right? To remove that part, to remove the metaphysical part of humanity, which is what connects human beings to nature, people end up just floating. They just float. They just float. They are just, so that is cold exploitation. Ruthless hierarchy and cold exploitation, where you're not thinking about people's lives, you're not thinking about anything but what it is that you feel like you will benefit from exploiting that land or exploiting that labor or exploiting whatever it is that you are going out there to get. Using people as prey, preying on people, and also just taking their resources from on the one side. Here we're working with your reptilian brain. So vitality is moving smoothly from the base of the spine all the way up, and then illuminating the higher centers, right? Illuminating the higher centers of the being. We're moving from survival, the three survival bases, the three centers, survival centers of the body, and then going all the way up to the very top. And then here on the other side, where this agenda exists, you have what we call a hijacked nervous system. A hijacked nervous system is the nervous system of a person who cannot see past the physical, who cannot see past the here and the now, a person who only exists in survival. So the bottom first three centers are survival centers. So here you have the base, which is for procreating, and the second sacral, which is for pleasure. Here you eat, you absorb, you process food, you move minerals from one area of the body to another one. And then up here you have then competition, getting out there in the world, achieving, doing, being, all of that good stuff. So now when a person is then existing in the lower base emotions, they are then easily controlled by fear. They are moved by fear. They are moved by fear. They are moved by ignorance. They basically exist in those animal nature spaces of humanity, where this is the animal part of your nature, and then this is the celestial part of your nature. So when vitality moves from the base all the way up, you are evolving past survival and into your higher evolution as a human being. So the base portals, this is then where things like fear, sex, and survival rule at the base. And so people who are then locked into these worlds, that's all they care about. They care about fear, sex, intimacy, survival, money. Getting money, surviving, because that's exactly what survival is in the modern world. Is, are there enough resources for you to survive and exist inside of the matrix in healthy ways? Are you able to survive? And then here with your reptilian brain, everyone has a reptilian brain. So it really is neither good nor bad. It's not good, it's not evil. It's just there. It helps to automate things. It is the part of you that exists while you sleep. It is the natural part of you. It is the thing that once you've repeated something over and over again, you get to a place of mastery where you are able to master it and you're able to do it naturally. So this is something that is not good. It's not bad. It's not anything. Right. But now when you move here into the agenda side of things, that same essence is distorted. So it is distorted. Oh, so that same essence is distorted. So distorted in the sense that you're taking cold, ruthless, survival information, and then you are applying it to a global world system. That, let's say, if one race is afraid that the other race is going to rise up against them and rule them and do to them what they've done to them for years and years, so what they do is they will push down. That's survival thinking. It's survival logic that if there's more of you and less of us, we have to restrict you so that we can thrive. That is survival thinking. It is the distorted reptilian brain. That when this reptilian brain is unregulated, what happens? So all you really need to do to see demonstrations of this is you need to go in and watch the Avatar, and you will understand. You will understand, because those indigenous people, they really had no issue with anyone. They didn't even have a problem with human beings entering their planet and, just being around. The problem started when then the human beings felt like they knew better, they knew more. They wanted to colonize these people because they were looking at them as monkeys, that, oh, you guys are uncivilized. We want to come in and civilize you and give you clothing, put this on, put that on. Or, oh, hey, what do you want? We can give you medicine, we can give you schools, what do you want? And then you can give us the gold or the mineral. That was not gold, that mineral, I forgot what it was called. And they were like, we want this mineral, which is worth trillions. And so we're going to get rid of your ancestral trees, your relics, your whatevers, everything just is sacred here. We're going to shoot everything down, take the mineral, and then we're going to be out. And they were like, no, you have killed your mother on earth. You want to come here and kill our mother? Not happening. Yes. So the other thing that is important to understand is that the reptilian brain in Kemetic spirituality was never meant to... In Kemetic spirituality, the goal was never to deny or to destroy the reptile existing within us, because every single person have this. For as long as you have a reptilian brain, you have a reptile within you. You can be a predator for as long as you have that reptile brain within you. So the goal was never to suppress and to destroy it. The goal was to regulate it. When you are working with your energy centers and your nadis, the python, or this vitality, this life force from the base of the spine, it moves from the base of the spine and then it bursts out through your forehead. And that is that reptilian brain moving from one point to another one, connecting you with a higher consciousness outside of your physical body, which then lets you know that the reptilian agenda fails every single time a person regulates their nervous system. The reptilian agenda fails. It stops working every single time a human being regulates their nervous system. So this is now the why and the how, that in a lot of these dogmatic religious spaces, you will hear a lot of things. You will be told that astrology is demonic, yoga is demonic, everything is basically evil. And it makes sense, because now you cannot corrupt the reptilian brain once it is in a space where it is regulated and it is connected to a higher consciousness outside of your body. You cannot exist in fear when your nervous system is fully and completely regulated, because you are operating and working with a universal consciousness outside of your human body. And then, of course, to touch a little bit on the Dendera Zodiac and its role and place in all of this. So the original stone bas relief of the Dendera calendar was removed from the ceiling of the temple, the Hathor temple. It was removed from the ceiling, and it was then moved to a museum, a gallery in the Louvre. I think it's how they pronounce it, the Louvre in Paris, right? So it was removed from Africa and was taken to the Louvre, and then they decided to put a different one on made of plastic. I'm not sure. But the original one is in Paris. Now, when you look at the sandstone, you will see the carvings, the planetary carvings. When you look at the sandstone, you will see very intricate carvings of universal consciousness being held up by pillars, right? When you look at the sandstone, you will see very, very intricate carvings of universal consciousness held up by cosmic pillars. That's what you will see on the sandstone. I'm just going to see if I can't get anything clear on it so that I can put it here on the left and the right when I post this video up, so that you guys can see exactly what we're talking about when we speak about the Dendera. What is the Dendera Zodiac? So what is special about them is that all the African totems, all the prominent African animal totems are on the Dendera. I'm going to give you 3 examples of the crocodile, the python, and the lion. I know the crab is there as well as the scarab. It's then shown as originally was a scarab beetle, but then when the Greeks got to the information, they transformed the scarab into the crab. Crab then linked with Cancer of Western astrology. So with this, you will start to see how South African surnames were linked to the star maps of ancient Kemet. So with this, you will see how South African lineages were linked to the star maps of Kemet. So I am pretty sure that there is a Kenyan link as well, an Egyptian link. There are many other links, but I can only speak to the South African simply because I myself am South African, and therefore I cannot basically speak on any other group other than what I know. And a lot of the information that gets revealed through my own ancestry is just based on the types of people that we deal with and the types of information that would be fruitful to them. So all Africans are linked basically to the star maps of Kemet. But for today, I would like to speak about the South African archetypes and the lineages and their totems and how they link with the star maps of Kemet. Now, if you look at the Dendera, you will see a crocodile there. You will see a crocodile. It is on the right near the center. Maybe I will circle it when I edit this. It is on the right near the center. It is known as the North Celestial Pole, that place where the crocodile is. It's called the North Celestial Pole. There you will see there sits a giant crocodile. There sits a giant crocodile resting on the back of a hippopotamus. So the hippopotamus as a totem is linked to Borakubu, right? Kubu is a hippopotamus, right? So you are seeing it resting right there because then they go hand in hand. And when you study the clan names, you will see that the hippopotamus and the crocodile, they share very similar archetypes. The dream archetypes are the same as well. So this represents the constellation of Sobek. The constellation of Sobek. So what this gives to a person, since you already know that the crocodile is linked to the reptilian brain, which then gives you the ability, access to the oldest layers of the subconscious mind. It makes it so that people who have this Ngwenya frequency are able to hold a focus long enough for it to pull an outcome from the quantum field. So being able to sit on a focus long enough for it to materialize, right? And also having that exceptional capacity for mastery makes it so that the crocodile, the hippopotamus, the python, the crab, those types of the fish. But then the fish is a little bit at a disadvantage because it cannot live on land. So therefore, it cannot pull things out of water. When you are speaking about manifestation from a metaphysical point of view, you are talking about pulling things out of water onto land. So you're taking something just as a possibility or probability, and you are then collapsing it into visible and physical waves. So you require an amphibious animal to do that. An amphibious totem. A hippopotamus can exist on water and on land. A crocodile can exist on water and on land. A crab can exist underwater and on land. A snake can exist underwater and on land. So when people like Sammy Ingram say stuff like mermaid gang, she's talking about people who then have that ability, because people have different extrasensory abilities the same way animals have different abilities. The fish with Pisces is a little bit at a disadvantage. These are people that tend to be airy-fairy and all in their minds, very dreamy, very imaginative people. But pulling things from the water onto land is a little bit difficult for an animal that lives in water. A fish cannot move to land. So they can be extremely creative. They can create really incredible things. But when we are then moving from the metaphysics of pulling things from the spiritual realms onto the physical, totems like the crocodile and the pythons are the leaders. They are the leaders. They are the leaders, because at the basis of processes such as Uktwala, which is then people going doing things for quick wealth, there is purer ways of being able to do that, which is pulling a possibility from the quantum field using this metaphysics that is then associated with the crocodile, the python, and the snake, which is why snakes are used inside of that process. We did unpack a little bit of this in the previous video, but I think we definitely can go deeper into that. We can go much, much, much deeper into that, understanding the metaphysics of pulling something from it just being a possibility and a hope and making it a physical thing. So step number 1, the amphibious totems, the amphibious animals are what you need. We spoke about how the snake is basically literally like a giant spine. And now you know that the crocodile is like a giant reptilian brain. And once you're able to use this energetically, it changes the game entirely. Now here, moving into the snake. So the python is woven throughout the Dendera ceiling. Many snakes over there, simply because the snake represents the pathway to the deacon. So yeah, important to know that the snake represents the pathway, the energy and the pathway to the deacons, or also known as the solar barks of the Dendera. Well, what are these? Cosmic currents that are moving throughout the sky. We are talking about cosmic currents of unmanifested moving, here we are talking about cosmic currents of unmanifested energy moving through the skies. That is what quantum potential. It's the quantum potential of something. To say that of all the possibilities, 1,000 possibilities, this is the one that I pick for myself. It is one of the currents that are moving through the skies, moving through space. It's one of the waves that are there. So the python, and the reason why there was so much on it on the ceiling of Dendera is because this is what it was symbolic of. You know that the snake doesn't chase, so it is the ultimate symbol of attraction and assumption, because it literally pulls to itself, it magnetizes, right, embodying ultimate feminine energy, ultimate feminine essence, ultimate feminine magnetism. So what you do is you wrap yourself around the possibility of your choice, and then you basically pull it towards you through your feminine magnetism. All right. So that is basically what this python totem meant inside of the Dendera, and how people were able to then use it to mobilize it to start to create lives for themselves that they really, really love. You will also see the lion totem there on the Dendera Zodiac. So the lion, Dau, Sibanda, Silepe. There are people that are linked with, associated with the leopard as well. We will talk about that. So this lion totem, let's talk about it, because it is also on the Dendera. In fact, all totems are in the Dendera. This totem is depicted as a majestic lion. This majestic lion is standing over a serpent. And even that means something. It has its own symbolic. So in the teachings of Neville Goddard and a person known as Sammy Ingram here, on the YouTube spaces. This would then be known as the I am statement. So that I am is that consciousness of knowing that you are a God of your own reality and you can command things with your words, right? And collapse waves into matter with your words, whether you're using auto suggestions, you are using assumptions, you are forming assumptions. So that is basically what the lion is associated with in the Dendera. All right. So that cosmic consciousness of I'm going to stand my ground in this. And then basically it comes in. So original prayer originally, this is what it was designed to do. So praying wasn't so much a process of asking and begging God to do something for you or asking ancestral beings or deities to do things for you. It was the process of commanding something, using your ability to activate and command with your words, and then pulling something towards yourself. And that is what original prayer was designed to do. So now, the one question that the normal person would then be at this point of listening to this presentation would be, well, how do I know if my surname is linked to the water element? Right? You want to see that, do I have water totems in my lineage? Do I have them on the maternal side? Do I have them on my paternal side? Now, here is where things get tricky for a lot of people. You must understand that this information and this knowledge is so far removed from where and how we are existing in as human beings today, that for a lot of people, you'll find that there's a particular clan that is active that they don't know about. For example, there's a client, a woman who I was dealing with in like 2 weeks ago. So you guys know that inside of Xhosa culture, when a child when a child was conceived outside of wedlock, the maternal ancestry are the ones that are basically in charge. They have the decision-making power. So that clan would be the one that is active. So that means their clan praises is where you would want to look. Now, what had happened is that if a father is born out of wedlock, the maternal side are the ones that are the most active. Although this person is using their paternal surname, the father's surname, the maternals are the ones that are active. The paternal is latent because the cultural customs were not done to connect the two sides, because traditionally marriage was never so much about love and romance. It was about the combining and the bringing together of two families, two lineages. So when two people came together, that was the coming together of two lineages. And every single time a child is born outside of wedlock, even if the parents are planning to marry, they have not married, and then a child happens, that child falls under the maternal custodianship. That custodianship means that spiritually you are connected and you are tethered to the blueprint of the maternal side. This creates a lot of conflict for people, because then for some, they just think, as long as I'm using this surname. No, it's not about that. It's your cosmic alignment, the cosmic contracts that you have. So this particular client, she was very, very confused because a surname kept coming up that she felt like is too far removed from her, where she would say, yes, my grandfather was of that lineage, but I did not know him. I had no connection to him. And also, it's strange that his information is coming up, whereas here's where I am now. But the problem was that since he had it's just this confusing thing where the maternal side, which was the side that was not acknowledged, their blueprint was the one that was running in the grandfather's life. And when he basically removed himself from that, this is the thing that then was active and stayed active. So when she starts looking for where are the problems and where are the imbalances in my life, that is something that came out for her. And a lot of this information did not even make sense to the both of us in her divination. This only literally came out once we started unpacking the dreams. Before that, it was just nothing made sense. It was only after 2 dreams that we were like, oh, okay, here's where the puzzle pieces come together. So this is why surnames are so important. They have to do with literally your cosmic blueprint as a person. What is active and what's not active. We've done so many videos talking about the archetypes and how the totems impact you and what you're able to do, what you're not able to do, the qualities that are active within you, and what basically it is, what blueprint you're basically working with, what is it that you have inherited. Because if you can start seeing ancestry that way and not see it as a religion replacement, people like to think of ancestry religiously, and that is a problem. You don't jump out of one religion and then jump into another one. This is science. This is epigenetics. This is bloodline memory. This is the information you have inherited. This is what is active in my blood. Okay. It's very different from when a religious person is telling you that the blood of Jesus runs through their blood, their bodies. This is scientifically incorrect. The blood that runs in your body is your paternal ancestry and your maternal ancestry. Those are the people whose blood runs through your veins. Whether you actually believe in it or not, whether you hear it or not, whether you... Listen, it's a problem. It's a problem. But now that we have just summarized there for what felt like... now that we have just summarized the place of the crocodile and the place of the python, we might end up slicing this up into 2 videos because it ended up getting a little bit longer than I had expected. Now we will unpack the crab, inkalankala, right? Unkala.